Welcome back to Uflix. Today's recap is about a 2014 American psychological drama film called Whiplash. The story follows the life of a talented music student, Andrew, who loves jazz music and is pushed to his limits through psychological abuse by his instructor as a way to train him to be the best in the field. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The story opens with Andrew Naiman, a first-year student at Schaffer Conservatory of Music, practicing when the band leader Terrence Fletcher approaches him. As Fletcher walks through the door, Andrew stops playing and politely introduces himself. However, Fletcher asks why he stopped, which makes Andrew show some of his drum-playing skills. Andrew leaves with a sarcastic remark, slamming the door as he leaves. Later, Andrew meets his father, Jim, at the movies and tells him that his meeting with Fletcher wasn't great. The next day at class, Andrew gets to meet the core drummer, Ryan Connolly. Before he leaves, he peeks into Fletcher's class next door to watch the studio band in their session. Andrew practices hard and is hoping to become one of the world's greatest jazz drummers, taking inspiration from the legendary Buddy Rich. Fletcher walks into their band practice and instructs Ryan to swap seats with Andrew. As Andrew plays the piece, Fletcher listens briefly to him before calling Ryan. Fletcher leads each saxophone and bassist individually, followed by the drums. After that, Fletcher summons Andrew and instructs him to report to his room at 6 a.m. the next day. Andrew goes to his seat and smiles, thinking he's chosen for something special. Andrew later goes to meet Nicole, who works at the cinema, and asks her to go out with him. She agrees as she also shares similar feelings for him. The next morning, Andrew wakes up after 6 and rushes to get dressed as he's already late. When he arrives at the studio, no one is there. Worried, he checks the notice and sees the class only starts at 9 a.m. Andrew, holding his drum kit, waits for 3 hours. The other musicians arrive just before 9 a.m. and unpack their instruments when, straightforwardly, Tanner tells Andrew to set the drums and to turn his music pages. Andrew walks to the podium and selects a piece for the band to play. Fletcher introduces Andrew to the studio band as a squeaker as he's still practicing. Fletcher tells everyone, "Isn't he cute?" which lightens the mood of the room. Soon, the band starts playing Whiplash and Tanner yells for page change to Andrew, who has forgotten to turn the sheet music for Tanner as he plays. Andrew stops the band as he feels one player is out of tune. He walks around and Metz, the saxophone player. Metz is insanely nervous when Fletcher asks him to play again. As he plays the saxophone, Fletcher stares at him and asks if he also thinks that he's playing out of tune. Metz looks down at the floor, which irritates Fletcher, who asks, "What are you looking at?" The whole room is in silence as the abusive yelling has just begun. Metz, in fear and embarrassment, agrees that he might have been playing out of tune. This leads to Fletcher exploding as he doesn't understand why Metz would just keep quiet and look at the floor when he was doing wrong. He tells Metz that he has scared him for long enough and that he will not lose them a competition because Metz's mind was elsewhere. Fletcher starts to insult and intimidate him and tells him to get out of the class. After Metz walks out, Fletcher tells the class that Metz wasn't actually the one out of tune. Erickson was. However, Metz didn't even know if he was on tune or off tune, and this increased Fletcher's rage and abuse. Fletcher instructs the students to take a break. During break, Fletcher and Andrew talk about his life and family. Andrew informs that his father's a writer but teaches in high school. His mother has left the family when he was a baby, so he doesn't know much about her. Fletcher suggests Andrew to listen to the great drummers like Buddy Rich and Gil Jones. Andrew returns to his seat and somehow, Fletcher's words make him feel more confident and willing. He takes the position of the core drummer while Tanner is the alternate drummer. Fletcher conducts as the band plays Whiplash, but Andrew keeps messing up the tempo. Fletcher asks him to start again, and when Andrew messes up, Fletcher throws a chair towards him. Andrew ducks just in time, but Fletcher starts his verbal abuse. He slaps Andrew repeatedly, becoming increasingly angry as Andrew can't match the tempo. When Fletcher asks if he realizes he's too fast or too slow, Andrew replies he's too fast. Fletcher approaches Andrew very aggressively, shouting and inhumanely embarrassing him, saying he can't even read the music sheets. As a drop of tear rolls down Andrew's exhausted face, the whole band can be seen intimidated as well. As the last punch, Fletcher insults his family in personal situations from the information Andrew gave him during break. Tanner takes place as the core drummer, and Andrew keeps his head down in the side seat. Later and exhausted, Andrew sits alone in his room. He decides to not give up and continues to print copies of the sheet music before he starts to practice again for hours until his hands bleed and the blood dripping onto the drums. He meets Nicole later for pizza and they share stories of their lives. The studio band is preparing for the Overbrook Jazz Competition. Fletcher is still attacking everyone with his words during the last-minute instructions before going to stage. In front of the judges, the band assembles in harmony. The first performance goes well, and Tanner gives Andrew the folder with the sheet music for the second set for safekeeping. Andrew wants to get a drink, so he places the folder on a chair as he buys the soda from the vending machine. Tanner asks for the sheets, but now the folder is no longer there. Panic, they return backstage to inform Fletcher about the seats. He tells them to get the drumsticks and get on stage on time, with or without the sheet music. Tanner cannot play from memory. Crisis floods in, so Andrew says that he has memorized the song and can play with the music sheets. The band returns to the stage for the second time with Andrew as the main drummer. He plays flawlessly, and Schaffer Conservatory wins the competition. The following day at the studio, Tanner is demoted from core drummer, with Andrew taking his place. That night, during family dinner, Andrew proudly says that he's now a core member of the studio band and that Fletcher's opinion matters a lot to him. Additionally, Fletcher also recruits Ryan Connolly, the core drummer for a conservatory ensemble, at a lesser level. This makes Andrew feel embarrassed as well as jealous. Fletcher's abusive guidance and Andrew's exclusive focus cause his connection with his family to start to break down. After Fletcher elevates Connolly to the position of core drummer, Andrew pushes himself to the maximum in his drumming practice and ends his relationship with Nicole to do so. Nicole is already tired of Andrew, who wasn't really focused on the relationship at all. Andrew ultimately regains the core position during a hard 5-hour practice session with Tanner and Connolly, during which Fletcher continually lashes out at them. Andrew's bus breaks down the route to the following tournament. He rents a car, but when he gets there late, he learns he forgot his sticks at the rental agency. Andrew is reprimanded by Fletcher, who also gives him 10 minutes to retrieve his sticks. Andrew rushes back to get them, but because he can't concentrate on the road, his car gets struck by a truck as he returns. Andrew, who is severely hurt, scrambles from the debris and rushes back to the theater, just as the ensemble takes the stage. Due to his injuries, he finds it difficult to perform Caravan, and Fletcher interrupts the show to eject him. Andrew lunges toward Fletcher on stage in fury, but is restrained by security and escorted out of the stage. At his father's request, Andrew speaks with a lawyer who also represented Sean Casey's parents. Sean Casey was a previous student of Fletcher who committed suicide by hanging after suffering extreme mental pain as a result of Fletcher's abuse. However, Fletcher lied during the practice sessions, saying that Sean was a talented musician who died in an accident. Fletcher even shed fake tears to gain sympathy from the students. Casey's parents want Fletcher to stop teaching, and Andrew offers to provide an anonymous statement which prompts Schaffer to fire Fletcher. Andrew gives up playing the drums after being kicked out and starts working in a restaurant. When he enters a jazz club, he sees Fletcher playing the piano. Fletcher asserts that his strategies were only meant to inspire deserving pupils, drawing on the tale of Charlie Parker's ascent to stardom. Andrew reluctantly agrees when he extends an invitation to play with his band at the JVC Jazz Festival and assures him that the songs will be the same ones performed by the studio band. In a phone conversation, Andrew apologizes to Nicole for how he ended their relationship and extends an invitation to the performance. She has a new relationship and decides to not show up to cheer for Andrew. Before the band starts playing their first song at JVC, Fletcher admits that he's aware that Andrew testified against him and resulted in his dismissal. In retaliation, Fletcher starts the band playing a tune that neither Andrew nor himself has the sheet music for. After failing to perform, Andrew leaves the stage feeling embarrassed, but he later makes a comeback and interrupts Fletcher's introduction of the following piece by starting to play Caravan, cueing the band himself. Fletcher starts off enraged before continuing to conduct. Fletcher starts to appreciate the piece as it progresses because Andrew does a fantastic job in his role. After the song is over, Andrew continues to perform a lengthy solo. Fletcher gives Andrew credit for his performance before starting the band's finale. And that's all about this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to stay up to date with such interesting movie recap videos here.